Ah, romance, the candles, the scenic views, the overwhelming urge to recreate every travel influencer's Instagram post. Welcome to the ultimate guide to Europe's most romantic destinations, where the views are stunning, the food is dangerously good, and the selfie sticks are out in full force. So buckle up, lovebirds. Whether you're planning a honeymoon, an anniversary trip, or just want to dramatically stare at sunsets while eating way too much bread, this is your guide to Europe's most romantic cities. And don't forget to smash that like button like I'm about to smash this plate of ravioli. Seriously, it's happening. Let's dive in. Number 1. Venice, Italy. Venice and romance go together like spaghetti and meatballs, except way less messy, unless you're really bad at gondola rides. This floating city is basically a giant love nest, complete with winding canals, charming bridges, and cobblestone streets designed specifically to test your partner's patience when you both get lost. Kick off your romantic adventure with the ultimate Venice cliché, a gondola ride through the Grand Canal. Yes, it's touristy, but so is breathing, and nobody complains about that. Glide past stunning Renaissance architecture while your gondolier belts out Italian tunes, or at least hums awkwardly. Next, head to Piazza San Marco, where you can gaze at the breathtaking St. Mark's Basilica and Doge's Palace. Bonus points if you dramatically sigh and pretend you're in a historical romance novel. Then, wrap up the evening with a candlelit dinner at one of Venice's cozy restaurants where you can gaze into each other's eyes. Or at your plate of pasta, because let's be real, Italian food is the real love story here. If you're craving a little more peace and a little less selfie stick chaos, wander off to the quieter Cannaregio district. Here you'll find picturesque canals, hidden gems, and local eateries. Number 2, Paris, France. Paris isn't called the City of Love for nothing, it's practically Cupid's headquarters. With charming cafes, grand boulevards, and enough twinkling lights to make your Instagram followers jealous, this city was basically designed for romance, and croissants, but mostly romance. Start your love-fueled adventure with a leisurely stroll along the Seine, where you'll pass iconic landmarks like the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame. Perfect for those dramatic, movie-worthy moments where you pretend you're in a rom-com. If you really want to impress your partner, throw in some French phrases like "Je t'aime," I love you, or "Où est la baguette?" Where is the baguette? Both equally important. Next, head to Montmartre, the artsy district where everything looks like it belongs on a postcard. Wander its narrow streets, soak in the bohemian vibes, and maybe even let a street artist sketch an unflattering caricature of you and your partner, because nothing says love like exaggerated facial features. For peak romance levels, hop on a sunset boat cruise along the Seine. Nothing sets the mood quite like floating past Parisian landmarks while pretending you're effortlessly glamorous, even if you're just trying not to spill your wine. Cap off the evening with a Michelin-starred dinner, or grab a bottle of wine, park yourselves at Trocadero, and watch the Eiffel Tower sparkle like it's putting on a show just for you. Number 3, Amalfi Coast, Italy. The Amalfi Coast, where the cliffs are dramatic, the villages look straight out of a postcard, and the seafood is so fresh it probably knew your name yesterday. If you're planning a romantic getaway in 2025, congratulations. You've picked a destination so stunning, even your vacation photos will look like stock images. Start in Positano, the town that looks like it was built by someone who just kept stacking colorful houses until they ran out of space. Wander its narrow streets, pop into boutiques you can't afford, and sip espresso like you're in an Italian rom-com. If you're feeling adventurous, or just want an excuse to be lazy later, hop on a boat and discover hidden beaches and coves where you can pretend you're in a James Bond movie, minus the high-speed chases. Next stop Ravello, where the views are so breathtaking, your camera roll will run out of storage. Visit the legendary Villa Ruffolo and Villa Simbrone, home to gardens so beautiful they could make even the most stubborn, non-romantic swoon. This is the perfect place for dramatic hand-holding, deep sighs, and pretending you totally understand classical architecture. End your trip in Amalfi, where the lemon groves are endless, the seafood is unbeatable, and the coastal roads will have you questioning your life choices as your driver takes hairpin turns like they're in a Fast and Furious movie. Number 4, Bruges, Belgium. Bruges is like a real-life fairy tale. If fairy tales included an endless supply of Belgian chocolate and the occasional tourist trying to take a selfie with a swan. Known as the Venice of the North, because apparently every city with canals needs to be compared to Venice, Bruges is the perfect place for couples who love medieval charm, cobblestone streets, and an excuse to eat waffles for every meal. Start your romantic adventure with a canal boat ride, where you can glide past historic buildings, picturesque gardens, and at least one duck that looks like it's judging you. If boats aren't your thing, opt for a horse-drawn carriage ride, because nothing says romance like pretending you're royalty while a very enthusiastic horse trots through the streets. For a view that will make you feel both amazed and slightly out of breath, climb the Belfry of Bruges. It's only 366 steps to the top. Easy, right? Just remember, it's a lot harder to look romantic when you're gasping for air. Of course, no trip to Bruges is complete without Belgian chocolate, which is so good it basically counts as a love language. Pop into one of the many artisanal chocolate shops and pretend you're just browsing before inevitably leaving with an entire suitcase full of pralines. Number 5. Cinque Terre, Italy. Cinque Terre is basically what happens when a bunch of fishing villages decide to glow up and become Instagram superstars. Perched dramatically along Italy's rugged Ligurian coast, these 5 colorful towns look like they were designed specifically to make your friends jealous. The romance here is undeniable. Think brightly painted houses clinging to cliffs, sparkling Mediterranean waters, and just enough dramatic scenery to make you feel like you're in a European indie film. If you and your partner love adventure, or just want an excuse to eat more pasta later, tackle the famous hiking trails that connect the villages. The views? Breathtaking. The incline? Also breathtaking, literally, because those hills will have you questioning your life choices. If sweating your way through paradise isn't your vibe, opt for a boat ride along the coast, where you can see the villages from the water and pretend you're in a James Bond movie, minus the high-speed chases and secret agents. Number 6. Vienna, Austria. Vienna is what happens when a city decides to be both ridiculously elegant and unapologetically extra. Grand palaces? Check. Lush gardens? Check. Coffee houses so fancy that even your cappuccino feels like royalty? Absolutely. If you and your partner are into old-world charm, classical music, and desserts that require their own Wikipedia page, this is the place for you. Start your romantic getaway with a visit to Schönbrunn Palace, where you can stroll through Baroque gardens so perfect they might make you rethink your own yard maintenance habits. Or, if you'd rather travel like 18th century VIPs, hop into a horse-drawn carriage and let a well-dressed horse chauffeur you through the city's historic center. Bonus points if you dramatically wave like royalty. As the sun sets, lean into Vienna's dramatic artsy vibes by attending a classical music concert at the Vienna State Opera or Musikverein, because nothing says romance like listening to Mozart in the city where he once probably complained about bad weather. Cap off the evening with a candlelit dinner at a fine dining restaurant, followed by a moonlit walk through Vienna's illuminated streets. Whether you're sipping world-class wine or stuffing your face with Sachertorte, which, let's be honest, is a core memory waiting to happen, one thing is certain: Vienna knows how to do romance with a capital R. Number 7. Prague, Czech Republic. Prague is basically what happens when a fairy tale and a history book have a ridiculously good-looking baby. With its Gothic spires, cobblestone streets, and just the right amount of medieval drama, it's no wonder couples flock here to feel like the main characters in a romance novel, or a vampire movie depending on the lighting. Start your love story by wandering through the old town, where every street looks like it was designed specifically for dreamy hand-holding and getting mildly lost, which is honestly part of the charm. For peak romance levels, visit the Charles Bridge at sunrise. It's magical, peaceful, and free of the usual crowd of tourists aggressively trying to capture their 87th selfie. Make your way up to Prague Castle, where the views are breathtaking and the history is so rich you might accidentally learn something. Then spend the afternoon getting lost in hidden courtyards and cozy cafes, where you can sip hot chocolate so thick it might actually be pudding. When evening rolls around, hop on a Vltava River cruise to watch Prague's skyline light up like it's showing off. Because let's be honest, it is. Nothing says romance like floating past centuries-old castles while pretending you totally understand European history. Number 8. Florence, Italy. Florence, where romance, history, and ridiculously good pasta collide. As the birthplace of the Renaissance, this city is basically an open-air museum where even the street pigeons seem more cultured than usual. If you and your partner are looking for art, jaw-dropping views, and an excuse to eat embarrassing amounts of gelato, you're in the right place. Start your romantic adventure by visiting the Uffizi Gallery or the Accademia, where you can stare in awe at Michelangelo's David, Or more realistically, giggle at the fact that people have been admiring this statue's perfectly sculpted abs for centuries. Wander through Florence's stunning streets, where the Duomo will leave you speechless, partly from its beauty, mostly from climbing its 463 steps. Cross the Ponte Vecchio, a bridge so romantic that back in the day, only goldsmiths were allowed to set up shop there. Because apparently nothing says true love like expensive jewelry. For a quieter escape, stroll through the Boboli Gardens, where you can pretend you live in a fancy Renaissance villa. And for the ultimate sunset moment, cue dramatic music, climb up to Piazzale Michelangelo, where the panoramic views of Florence will make you want to hug your partner and immediately buy a postcard of the same scene. End your night with a candlelit dinner in a traditional Tuscan restaurant, where you can whisper sweet nothings between bites of pasta and sip wine that's better than anything you've ever pretended to like back home. Number 9. Porto, Portugal. Porto, where romance, history, and very strong wine come together in a city so charming it might actually flirt with you. Nestled along the scenic Douro River, Porto is the kind of place where you can wander through colorful streets, sip on world-famous port wine, and pretend you totally know the difference between all the varieties. Start your romantic adventure with a leisurely boat cruise down the Douro, where you can admire Porto's stunning bridges, and try not to spill your drink every time the boat hits a wave. Prefer to keep your feet on solid ground? A riverside walk is just as dreamy, especially when you stop at one of the waterfront cafes for a glass of wine, or 3. The city's historic center is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is a fancy way of saying it's old, beautiful, and full of Instagram-worthy spots. Meander through narrow, winding streets, get lost on purpose, and act surprised every time you stumble upon yet another adorable little square. For wine lovers, or just wine enthusiasts who appreciate the craft, a visit to the nearby vineyards is a must. Here, you can sip port straight from the source and pretend you're a sophisticated wine connoisseur, even if your usual wine selection back home involves a screw cap. Number 10. Budapest, Hungary. Budapest is like that effortlessly cool friend who's equal parts glamorous, historic, and totally up for a spontaneous midnight adventure. With grand architecture, steamy thermal baths, and a river so scenic it practically begs for a dramatic love confession, this city is romance central, just with way more goulash. Start your couple's getaway at Buda Castle, where you'll get panoramic views of the city, and a chance to pretend you're in a period drama. Bonus points if you dramatically stare into the distance while whispering something poetic. As night falls, hop on a Danube River cruise because nothing says romance like floating past the glowing Parliament building and Chain Bridge, wine in hand, while secretly trying to take a million pictures that won't do it justice. For peak relaxation and an excuse to lounge in warm water like royalty, visit one of Budapest's famous thermal baths. Whether you choose Széchenyi for a grand palatial vibe, or Gellert for that classic Art Nouveau aesthetic, you'll be soaking in mineral-rich waters while plotting ways to never leave this city. Number 11. Dubrovnik, Croatia. Dubrovnik, where medieval charm, jaw-dropping Adriatic views, and just the right amount of Game of Thrones energy come together to create the ultimate romantic escape. If you and your partner love history, scenic walks, and the constant feeling that you've stepped into a fantasy novel, then congratulations. You've picked the right city. Start by strolling along the city's ancient walls, where you'll be treated to breathtaking views of the sea and terracotta rooftops. It's the perfect place for hand-holding, dramatic photo ops, and debating whether you could survive medieval life. Spoiler, probably not. Next, lose yourselves in Dubrovnik's old town, a maze of narrow stone streets, charming cafes, and hidden squares where every corner looks like it was designed specifically for romantic moments and accidental gelato stops. For peak romance, take the cable car up to Mount Surdard, because nothing says I love you like watching the sunset over Dubrovnik while pretending not to be mildly afraid of heights. Trust us, the panoramic views of the coastline are worth it, and so is the celebratory glass of wine afterward. Number 12. Edinburgh, Scotland. Edinburgh, where history, romance, and the ever-present risk of unpredictable weather combine for the ultimate couple's getaway. If you and your partner love medieval charm, dramatic castles, and the occasional deep-fried snack, you've found your dream destination. Start by wandering down the Royal Mile, a street so steeped in history that even the cobblestones seem to whisper, "Aye, we've seen some things." It's lined with medieval buildings, quirky shops, and bagpipe music that will either enchant you or make you question your life choices. For those who like their romance with a side of cardio, hike up Arthur's Seat, a dormant volcano with panoramic views so breathtaking they almost make you forget how windy it is up there. Nothing bonds a couple quite like scaling a hill together while trying to keep your hair from looking like a bird's nest. At the heart of it all is Edinburgh Castle, a fortress perched dramatically atop a rock, because obviously the Scots don't do subtle when it comes to castles. Stroll through its ancient halls, learn about Scotland's very eventful history, and maybe even steal a romantic moment overlooking the city below. When the inevitable Scottish chill sets in, duck into a cozy pub where you can warm up with a dram of whiskey, some hearty food, and the comforting glow of a fireplace. And if you need a break from the city, the nearby countryside and coastal towns offer charming day trips, perfect for long walks, scenic views, and discovering just how many shades of green exist in Scotland. Number 13, Malta, where history, romance, and stunning Mediterranean views come together in one ridiculously photogenic island. If you and your partner are looking for crystal-clear waters, ancient temples, and enough scenic backdrops to fill an entire year's worth of Instagram posts, congratulations, you've just found paradise. Start your romantic adventure by strolling through Valletta, a UNESCO World Heritage City that's basically an open-air museum, but with quaint cafes and way better weather. Here you'll find Baroque buildings, charming side streets, and just enough historical intrigue to make you feel cultured, even if you're mostly here for the food and the views. For couples who love a bit of ancient mystery, Malta's megalithic temples and centuries-old fortresses will transport you back in time, because nothing says romance like standing next to 4,000-year-old rocks and wondering how on earth they got there. Of course, no trip to Malta is complete without some beach time, and the Blue Lagoon and Golden Bay deliver next-level turquoise waters perfect for swimming, snorkeling, or just dramatically gazing at the horizon like you're in a travel commercial. And when hunger strikes, Malta's seaside restaurants have got you covered with fresh Mediterranean cuisine, ocean views, and seafood so good, it might actually ruin all other seafood for you. Number 14, Copenhagen, where Scandinavian charm, effortless coolness, and an alarming number of bicycles come together to create the perfect romantic getaway. If you and your partner are into colorful streets, fairy tale vibes, and the constant feeling that everyone around you is better dressed, then welcome, you're going to love it here. Start your adventure at Nyhavn, Copenhagen's postcard perfect harbor, where historic wooden ships bob in the water, and the buildings are so colorful, they look like they were designed by someone who just discovered the paint bucket tool in Photoshop. This is the place for hand-in-hand strolls, casual boat rides, and attempting to take a cute couple's photo without a dozen tourists accidentally photobombing you. For the ultimate romantic and slightly athletic experience, rent bikes and join the city's unofficial Olympics of cycling. Copenhageners bike everywhere, so prepare to pedal alongside effortlessly cool locals who somehow manage to ride with perfect posture, a coffee in hand, and zero signs of struggle. When evening rolls around, head to Tivoli Gardens, one of the world's oldest amusement parks, where twinkling lights, lush gardens, and vintage rides create peak fairy tale energy. Whether you're holding hands on a carousel or screaming together on a roller coaster, it's guaranteed to be a core memory. Cap off the night with a Michelin-starred dinner, because Copenhagen takes food very seriously, or grab a cozy waterside meal, where you can sip wine, soak in the atmosphere, and pretend you totally understand Nordic cuisine. Number 15, Lucerne, where mountains, medieval charm, and postcard-perfect lake views come together to make your romantic getaway look straight out of a fairy tale except with way more Swiss chocolate. Surrounded by the Swiss Alps, this city is so stunning it might actually make you question whether real life is supposed to look this good. Start with a boat cruise on Lake Lucerne, where you can admire Mount Pilatus and Mount Rigi while pretending you're starring in a luxury travel commercial. For the more adventurous, or just those looking for an excuse to eat more fondue later, take a cable car ride up the mountains, where the breathtaking panoramas will make you forget how much you spent on Swiss prices. Back in town, explore the Chapel Bridge and Water Tower, two landmarks that make Lucerne's old town feel like it was designed by someone who takes medieval charm very seriously. Wander through quaint streets lined with adorable shops and cafes where you can pick up souvenirs, fresh pastries, and at least one item that you'll never actually use but felt very Swiss at the time. Number 16, Positano, Italy. Positano, where gravity-defying houses, turquoise waters, and an outrageous amount of lemon decor come together to create the ultimate romantic escape. If you and your partner have ever dreamed of living in an Italian postcard while consuming alarming amounts of pasta, congratulations, this is your place. Start by wandering through Positano's narrow, winding streets where every corner is lined with boutiques, cafes, and enough stylish linen outfits to make you consider a complete wardrobe overhaul. You'll find plenty of spots for romantic moments, scenic selfies, and the occasional gelato accidentally eaten before dinner. When it's time to soak up the sun, head to Spiaggia Grande, Positano's famous beach, where you can relax on the sand, take a dip in the Mediterranean, and try not to wonder how everyone here looks effortlessly chic while you're covered in sunscreen and sea salt. For peak romance, hop on a boat tour and explore hidden coves and magical sea caves, where you can live out your fantasy of floating through paradise like an old Hollywood movie star. And of course, no visit to Positano is complete without an over-the-top romantic dinner at a cliffside restaurant, where you can watch the sunset, sip local wine, and question if you should just quit your job and open a tiny beachside cafe here forever. Number 17, Hallstatt, Austria. Hallstatt, where mountains, lakes, and pure fairy tale magic come together to make you seriously consider quitting your job and becoming a professional yodeler. Nestled between jaw-dropping alpine peaks and a lake so peaceful it looks like a stock photo, this tiny Austrian village is so absurdly charming it almost feels illegal. For peak romance, start with a leisurely boat ride on Hallstatt Lake where you and your partner can soak in the scenery, take dramatic selfies, and pretend you totally belong in a luxury travel magazine. If you're feeling adventurous, or just want an excuse to hold hands dramatically, head to the Hallstatt Skywalk where the panoramic views will leave you speechless, or at least questioning how this place is even real. History buffs, or anyone who enjoys being in the presence of really old things, can check out Hallstatt's ancient salt mines where you'll learn fun facts, wear a goofy miner's outfit, and possibly get a little too excited about underground slides. But the real charm of Hallstatt? Its peaceful, picture-perfect streets where you can wander past cute cottages, sip coffee at a lakeside cafe, and contemplate why your hometown doesn't look like this. Number 18, Tallinn, Estonia. Tallinn, where medieval charm, fairy tale vibes, and just the right amount of Viking energy make it the perfect spot for a romantic getaway, especially if you enjoy cobblestone streets, castle views, and pretending you've time traveled. Start your adventure by wandering through Tallinn's Old Town, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that looks like someone copy-pasted it straight out of a history book and sprinkled in some Instagram filters. With colorful buildings, hidden courtyards, and streets so charming they practically demand hand-holding, it's the kind of place where even getting lost feels romantic. For a dose of historical drama, check out Toompea Castle, where Estonian rulers once made big decisions, and possibly through the occasional feast or Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, which is so grand and ornate it will make you rethink your local church's decor choices. Need a break from all that sightseeing? Tallinn's cozy cafes and intimate restaurants are perfect for sipping mulled wine, trying local pastries, and making deep eye contact over a plate of something delicious. For next-level romance, visit in winter, when Tallinn transforms into a full-blown snow globe. The medieval rooftops get dusted with snow, Christmas markets pop up, and suddenly you're living in a real-life holiday movie, just with fewer scripted misunderstandings and more spiced drinks. Number 19, Seville, Spain. Seville, where passion, history, and tapas-fueled romance come together under the warm Mediterranean sun. If you and your partner are looking for a getaway filled with Moorish palaces, dramatic flamenco, and enough sangria to make you consider taking up Spanish citizenship, this is your spot. Start with a horse-drawn carriage ride through Seville's picturesque streets because nothing says we're on a romantic vacation like being chauffeured around like royalty, just with more cobblestones and fewer beheadings than in medieval times. Next, wander into the stunning Alcazar Palace where the architecture is so intricate you'll pretend you understand Moorish design while secretly just looking for the best photo angle. Then get lost in Santa Cruz, a neighborhood so charming that even getting hopelessly turned around in its winding alleys feels poetic. Just go with it. For peak romance, take a sunset stroll along the Guadalquivir River, where the golden light will make everything and everyone look 30% more attractive. And because no trip to Seville is complete without experiencing the passion of flamenco, find an intimate venue and watch dancers stomp, twirl, and pour their souls into every move. Basically, it's better than any rom-com you've ever seen. Number 20, Sintra, Portugal. Sintra, where fairy tales, history, and just the right amount of mysterious fog come together to create the ultimate romantic escape. If you and your partner love castles, secret tunnels, and pretending you're in a fantasy novel, then congratulations, you've found your dream destination. Start with Pina Palace, a ridiculously colorful, slightly over-the-top royal residence that looks like it was designed by someone who couldn't decide on just one color and went with all of them. Stroll through its gardens, admire the views, and try not to wonder how royal families manage to live here without getting lost daily. Next, head to Quinta da Regalera, aka the most mysterious Instagrammable estate ever built. It has secret tunnels, hidden passageways, and an initiation well that looks straight out of a fantasy movie. Perfect for channeling your inner adventurer, or just dramatically whispering, "We were meant to find this," while exploring. For even more castle drama, visit the Moorish Castle, perched high on a hill where you can soak in breathtaking views, feel like medieval royalty, and silently judge how tiny people look from up there. With its misty hills, enchanting architecture, and general air of magical mystery. Sintra is perfect for couples who love nature history and the feeling that they might stumble into another dimension at any moment. Number 21, Madeira, Portugal. Madeira, where dramatic landscapes, lush forests, and wine so good it should come with a warning label, create the ultimate romantic escape. If you and your partner love stunning coastlines, outdoor adventures, and the constant feeling that you've accidentally wandered into a nature documentary, welcome to paradise. Kick off your trip by hiking the famous levadas, ancient irrigation channels that conveniently double as scenic walking trails with jaw-dropping views. Just be prepared for lush greenery, misty waterfalls, and at least one moment where you dramatically declare, "I was meant to live in the wild." If hiking sounds like too much effort, take a scenic drive along the rugged coastline, where the roads are so breathtaking and slightly terrifying that you'll appreciate your partner even more for being the one who agreed to navigate. For a more relaxed vibe, head to Funchal, Madeira's charming capital, where you can stroll through botanical gardens, sip world-famous Madeira wine, and pretend to be cultured at a wine tasting. And if you're feeling adventurous, hop on the cable car to Monte for panoramic views so good they should be illegal, then take a traditional wicker toboggan ride back down, because apparently, sliding down the streets in a giant basket is a totally normal way to travel here. Number 22, Salzburg, Austria. Salzburg, where classical music, Baroque charm, and just the right amount of alpine drama make it the ultimate romantic getaway, especially if you enjoy strolling through history while pretending to be way more cultured than you actually are. Start by wandering through Salzburg's Old Town, where the buildings are so perfectly preserved, you half expect Mozart himself to pop out and start composing. Speaking of Mozart, he was born here, so prepare for Mozart-themed souvenirs, Mozart chocolates, and the lingering feeling that you should probably listen to more classical music. For next-level views, head up to Hohensalzburg Fortress, a massive medieval castle perched on a hill, where you can soak in breathtaking panoramas of the city and Alps, and also question how people in the Middle Ages climbed up here without breaking an ankle. For peak romance, take a leisurely stroll through Mirabel Gardens, where flawless flower beds and marble statues will make you feel like you're in a period drama. If you suddenly feel the urge to twirl around like you're in The Sound of Music, don't fight it. It's practically a tourist tradition. As the sun sets, attend a classical music concert, where you can sip wine and nod along as if you totally understand the deep musical intricacies of a symphony. Then, wrap up your night with a candlelit dinner at a cozy Austrian restaurant where you and your partner can gaze into each other's eyes, or just into a plate of schnitzel, which is equally romantic. Number 23, Verona, Italy. Verona, where Shakespearean drama, ancient ruins, and just the right amount of Italian romance come together to create the ultimate love story, minus the tragic ending hopefully. Start your romantic getaway with a visit to Juliet's famous balcony, where you can channel your inner Shakespeare and dramatically recite sonnets, or just take a selfie while trying to ignore the fact that Juliet was, in fact, a fictional character. If that doesn't quench your thirst for romance, leave a love note on the Casa di Giulietta walls, because nothing says commitment like scribbling your initials onto a centuries-old landmark. For a bit of history, and some gladiator energy, head to Verona's ancient Roman amphitheater where you can admire the architecture, imagine ancient battles and wonder how people sat on stone seats for hours without complaining. Take a leisurely walk along the Adige River, where the scenic bridges, charming streets, and general Italian perfection will make you question why you don't just move here permanently. As night falls, settle into a candlelit dinner at a cozy Italian restaurant where you can gaze into your partner's eyes, or just into a plate of fresh pasta, which is arguably just as romantic. And if you really want to end the night in style, catch a performance at the Verona Opera House, where the music, drama, and general grandeur will leave you feeling like you're living in your own opera, just with better snacks. Number 24, Ljubljana, Slovenia. Ljubljana, where fairy tale charm, riverside romance, and just the right amount of dragon-related history make it one of Europe's most underrated romantic getaways. If you and your partner love picturesque walks, castle views, and the thrill of trying to pronounce Ljubljana correctly on the first try, then welcome. You're going to love it here. The Ljubljanica River winds through the heart of the city, lined with cozy cafes, charming pedestrian bridges, and enough scenic spots to make your entire camera roll look like a travel brochure. Take a leisurely boat ride where you can float past historic buildings while pretending to be effortlessly elegant, despite the fact that you're balancing a glass of Slovenian wine on a moving vessel. For the best views, hike, or take the funicular, because romance doesn't have to involve effort, up to Ljubljana Castle, where you'll get panoramic views of the city rolling green hills and at least one moment where you dramatically sigh and say, "We should move here." If you're a couple that loves local markets and discovering foods you can't pronounce but will definitely eat anyway, explore Ljubljana's lively central market where you can snack on fresh pastries, local cheeses, and whatever looks intriguing enough to try without asking too many questions. With its blend of history, green spaces, and a chill, laid-back atmosphere, Ljubljana is the kind of place where romance happens organically. No over-the-top gestures required, unless you really want to reenact a grand love confession on Dragon Bridge. Number 25, Santorini, Greece. Due to recent reports of earthquakes in Santorini, we strongly recommend checking with your travel agency or official sources before booking your trip to ensure a safe and hassle-free experience. Stay informed, stay safe, and travel smart. Santorini, where whitewashed buildings, blue-domed churches, and sunsets so perfect they look photoshopped, create the ultimate romantic getaway, and possibly the highest concentration of honeymooners per square mile. This Greek island paradise is basically designed for couples who love breathtaking views, delicious seafood, and the thrill of trying to walk on cobblestone streets in sandals. Spend your days wandering through Oia and Fira, where every alleyway leads to a new picture-perfect spot that will make your Instagram followers irrationally jealous. For peak romance, watch the sunset in Oia, where hundreds of people gather nightly to witness the sky put on a show. If you want to avoid the selfie stick crowd, grab a seat at a cliffside taverna, order a glass of local wine, and toast to the fact that life is really unfair to people who aren't here right now. If you're feeling adventurous or just want an excuse to nap later, take a boat trip to the volcanic hot springs, where you can float in mineral-rich waters while wondering if this counts as a spa day. And for the ultimate Santorini experience, ride a donkey up the cliffside in Fira, or if you respect your dignity and the donkey, just take the cable car. And there you have it, a whirlwind tour of Europe's most romantic cities, where love is in the air, the food is too good, and the only heartbreak comes from realizing you eventually have to leave. Which of these destinations stole your heart, or more importantly, your appetite? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe for more travel guides, food recommendations, and slightly questionable life advice. Until next time, stay adventurous, stay romantic, and never say no to dessert.